Hello tanks and tankettes, welcome to a pair of viewer replays, and today I've got a very special pair indeed. One of them, well, this tank needs no introduction, but the other is also going to be a tier 4 French machine, and one that is, dare I say it, mostly better than this in every way, even though the AMX 40 is of course amazing and OP. Now, both of these machines are going to be top tier matchmaking games, and for a lot of tier 4s that is really the only place they shine. There's a lot of the tier 4 machines, hell even the tier 3 machines, that just do not cope with +2 matchmaking at all, and the AMX 40 is most definitely one of those. Now, one of the French tier 4s, alongside one of the German tier 4s, is the tier 4 heavy, and that gets limited matchmaking. And if only they all got limited matchmaking, because you look at the machines, you look at the stats, and you think that can get limited matchmaking, so why can't this? And there's no good reason for it other than Wargaming's insistence on keeping +2, and I kind of hope that'll change when we get to their global rebalance, that maybe one of the things they'll look at is low tier matchmaking in particular, or perhaps the rebalancing will just make the whole thing moot, that lower tiers will be able to cope with seeing higher tier machines in some way, whether that be rebalance in terms of guns or something like adaptive hit points, so that if you're bottom tier you get more hit points than if you're top tier, that kind of thing. I don't know, there's various ways in which you can do it, and there's been a lot of different proposals over the years, but Wargaming's just never really done anything about them up until this year. Although, having said this year, I mean, I'm sure they've been working on the global rebalance for a while, but it'll be nice to finally see some action in that regard. Anyway, as you can see, well, he's actually already taking some damage. That T28 has probably got the 57mm. One of the things this has over the other machine you're going to see, and this is Nova Prime 64, I should have said that already, is that the armour is supposed to be quite good, except it's not that difficult to pen an AMX 40 if you know what you're doing. And there are a lot of machines at the lower tiers that the guns are good enough for the armour on this. And hell, even if you don't have that good of a gun, as long as you know where the weak spots are, it doesn't matter that much. Anyway, he's got a T70 and a T80 in front of him, and neither of them... Well, actually, that T70 had... That looks like the 45mm gun, I'm not sure. The T80, however, has got an autocannon, so he's got no hope of penning. But that 75... the 45mm, rather, that could, in theory, pen an AMX if you knew where to shoot. So I've cut ahead a little bit here because, well, AMX 40 is going up hills. Yeah. It's not the most fun thing to watch in the world. But as you can see, well, they've taken over this side of the map, and that's fine. But they've lost control of the other side of the map, so they're going to need to defend. Now, fortunately on Fisherman's Bay, if you've got control of this mid-ridge area, that makes life a lot easier. But still, they have to be careful, because it is on a bit of a knife edge in terms of numbers. They could easily... it wouldn't take losing many tanks for them to just get into a terminal decline at this point. So we can see there's a couple of tanks on the cap, including... well, that A20 has had incredible matchmaking to get top tier in that machine. But he's down. The T28 is... well, he's down now. He definitely wouldn't pose a problem for this gun. But it's just a matter of, you know, actually hitting. And he actually does hit the T56, which at this range with this tank, with this gun, is not so bad at all. It's not a very good gun at all. The accuracy is pretty terrible. The penetration's terrible. The DPM's pretty terrible. The gun handling is terrible. I mean, there's not much good about the firepower on this. You actually do see sometimes people using the, I think it's a 47mm, that this thing can mount, and then just firing a lot of premium ammo. Because, well, at least it aims better, and it fires faster. Now, it's funny, because there are now better 75mm guns. in the game for the French low tiers. In fact, the other one that you're going to see, the SARL, has one of those guns. Did the AMX 40 also get that gun when the SARL was introduced? No, because reasons. I don't know. In theory, surely, if it can fit this short-barreled 75mm, it could fit that other 75mm, but Wargaming decided to just leave the AMX alone. In fact, when's the last time Wargaming did anything to the AMX 40? Have they ever? I don't know. If it's been buffed at any point in the past, it's been an awfully long time, because I don't remember it happening any time in the last couple of years. And it's the sort of thing I'd pay attention to as well. So it's just down to that T40, who has got, in theory, more than a good enough gun to tackle something like an AMX 40. Hell, even the Matilda, and you can see they do have a low health Matilda making its way to the cap. But there's actually one of the other remaining players, somebody who died already and is just watching the outcome, who cautions the Matilda against trying to cap because he's out in the open, there's no cover, and he's an easy one-shot. Now, we don't know what gun the T40 has. He could have a derp gun, or he could have, I think, a 57mm or a 76mm. And, well, more than good enough to take on the armour of a Matilda. So, by firing, he's given his position away, but it was at low risk to him. Nova Prime wasn't in a position to get off any shots, and his remaining allies are only just kind of coming up behind, including an MS-1 who failed platooned with that remaining allied T-56. Now, if the MS-1 has got his top gun, he could still penetrate a T-40's armour. The T-40 isn't known for particularly having armour, and that's also good news for Nova Prime. Although he has still switched to his premium ammo for this bit. Now, you'll notice his ammo composition, there's a lot of HE because there's a lot of tanks, especially when you're in tier 5 and tier 6 games, that you just can't pen, even with the premium. Because the premium is not good. It's only got about as much penetration as the regular AP on the M3 Lee. So your premium ammo is only just about as good as the regular ammo on some other tier 4 machines. It really isn't good at all. Now, he doesn't really need it for a T40, I have to say. But even so, it's one of those machines where you can't even particularly compensate for having a weak gun by packing a lot of premium ammo. It's not like, for instance, the Panzer III, another tier 4 machine, which is a medium tank but moves way better than this, even though this is in theory a light tank. And it's actually got, I think, worse regular penetration than this. But the premium ammo, the APCR, is really good. So it kind of makes up for it. And if you can afford the premium ammo, then it's fine. But the MX-40 is not one of those machines. Anyway, he manages to get the final kill. I mean, the MS-1 provided the perfect distraction. The T-40 could only look in so many directions at once. But even though that came awfully close to being a loss, they still managed to walk away with a victory, and he actually got a very respectable 1700 damage and 6 kills. So that was an ace tanker, a high caliber, I think a steel wall, what else did he have, top gun, and a Spartan, because he got a quite a nice bounce there as well. So all in all, that was a pretty nice game considering, but it was only a nice game because he was able to be top tier. If this had been tier 5 or tier 6, I think it might have been a very different story. So we go from one duck to another. This is the SARL 42, driven by Heims X. And, well, I've tried to get the nickname The Crested Duck to stick on this thing. I'm not really sure it's taken, but this is how I think of it. And there have been suggestions that maybe we should call it a Kingfisher instead, but Kingfishers are known for being fast, nimble, darting, graceful creatures. I'm not sure any of those appellations really applies to the SARL, even though it is still faster than the AMX 40. It's actually got a lower top speed, but it's got a better power to weight ratio, and when your comparison is an AMX 40, that's not really a very high bar to pass. It's also got much better firepower. The one downside, however, well, it's got two downsides. It doesn't have nearly such good armor, so it is more of a fragile machine. You're not going to get those sometimes bounces that you can get with the AMX. But also, it's got a much more limited ammo capacity. However, I think the fact that you just have such a much better gun kind of makes up for it. So, it's still a 75mm gun, but it's got, in contrast to the 67 average penetration of the AMX, it's got 100 average penetration and still has that 110 average damage. So it can suddenly cope with seeing tier 5s at the very least, and even some tier 6s without having to resort to premium ammo. And oh, guess what? The premium ammo is better as well. It's got APCR with more penetration. That's all you need to know, really. So not only is it's less affected by things like spaced armor. Not that there's a lot of that around at tier 4, but still it's going to be less affected by, say, tracks. But also, being APCR, it's going to be a lot faster than those heat shells that the AMX40 has as well. So yeah, all round, this is the better machine. And it pains me to say that. But it also, I just find it strange that they put in this bunch of new guns, these new low French tiers, and the existing low French tiers didn't get access to any of those guns. I don't know. I really don't know. And the AMX40 is one of those machines where Wargaming have said multiple times, well, we know this is one of the most underperforming low tier machines, but we just don't know what to do about it. So I don't know. We'll see what Balance 2.0 does for machines like the AMX, because it's not unique in that regard. There are a lot of the lower tiers that absolutely cannot cope with seeing higher tiers, and it's almost no wonder that on like the NA server, for instance, or the SEA server, trying to get top tier matches in low tier tanks is very, very difficult. I've actually got, and this is a bit nerdy of me, a bit geeky, but I've actually kept a tally of my proportion of games on the NA server in particular when I've been playing up through low tiers. And the vast majority of the games I've played in the tier 4s that I've gone through, which have been the T28 and currently I'm going through the, I think, T80 to get to the T34, they've been tier 5 games. Being top tier is incredibly rare. I've been top tier in 10 games. I've been in tier 5 games in, let's see, that's 25 games. And I've been bottom tier, so that's tier 6 matches in 12 games. So it's not like I'm consistently in tier 6 matches, but for some of these machines just being even the +1 matchmaking, like that machine right in front of us there, the AMX38, which is, it's so sad. It's like, I love how the AMX38 looks, but the gun is unbelievably pathetic. It's really incredibly underpowered. It's just, I don't know, it's a source of frustration. But yeah, anyway, it's kind of no wonder, I think, that the lower tiers are less populated. And I'm actually almost tempted to play on EU and again keep a tally, play some of the machines I've got even with better crews just to see how I do. Machines like the Cruiser 3, for instance, the Cruiser 4 rather, at tier 3, and maybe my own AMX40 just to see what kind of matchmaking I get, because my memory of it, and it really is just down to memory because I wasn't exactly keeping records of this, but my memory of it when I was grinding up through a lot of these lower tier machines, and this is going back 3+ years, was that I got more top tier matches, but it is just from memory. I might be wrong about that. But having played some recently on EU just out of curiosity, it feels like I'm getting a very high proportion of mid and bottom tier matches. And there was one particular match I played the other day where I just thought, oh, I'll play the Cruiser Mark IV. I was literally the only tier 3 on the team. There was one tier 4 artillery, and then everything else was tier 5. So I shot full premium. We won in the end. I think I did 500 damage, lost 25,000 credits, and I thought to myself, if you're a new player, this is not sustainable. And that was with a machine that was fully decked out, that had equipment, that had a rather healthy complement of premium ammo, which I managed to shoot all of and still only did 500 damage. And with a crew that's, I think, approaching their 3rd crew skill. So newer players aren't going to have any of that. And even with those kind of advantages over other tier 3 machines, it was still painful and frustrating, and I just felt like I was utterly dependent on my tier 5 teammates, because with matchmaking like that, I was a 2 or even 1 shot for basically everything, apart from, well, the only other tier 3 was a Bison on the enemy team. I was literally the only tier 3 tank, so yeah, it was painful. And it's matchmaking like that that makes me think, maybe on EU, people aren't playing the lower tiers so much these days either. Anyway, Himes has gotten himself a top gun, and he acknowledged in his own email that he mostly got away with it because no one really shot at him. He's taken 1 hit so far, and it was from a Matilda who seemed to be shooting premium for some reason. But the machine that's left is a very dangerous one. It's a Cruiser 2 with a derp gun. And we can see that he was able to derp the Panzer B2 on Himes' team, just leaving Himes alone. And if that derp gun hits him, and this is the 3.7-inch derp gun, this is the one that you can mount on the 82 and the Cromwell, and I think the Churchill Mark 7 as well, it's going to be a one-shot if it hits and penetrates, if it doesn't, go in the tracks or something. So he's got to be careful, and he has to, he can't one-shot this guy in return, so he has to rely on the fact that that gun has a horrible aim time and not particularly good accuracy. And the Cruiser 2 just does fire, because he has to. He doesn't really have an opportunity to sit and aim that because the timer was nearly there. So either way, Himes was probably going to win unless he got horribly unlucky there. He took the chance and actually got the final kill and an Invader medal. So that was very nice. And again, an ace tanker and a high caliber. Not quite as much damage that time, but still 1,546 and 7 kills. Not bad at all for a tier 4 game. So yeah, it's just all round the better machine. I mean, I don't think there's any... You look at the stats, there's no arguing it. It's got better penetration, better mobility, it's got much better gun handling, better premium ammo. So if you were going to go up through the French low tiers, I think these days you'd want to go up through this machine rather than the AMX 40. But, still, the AMX 40, the Duck, I really hope that someday soon they do something to make it more competitive alongside a lot of the other low tiers, because there are so many that are just in such a sad state that I don't know. I'd be really, really interested to see how many people get to tier 3 and tier 4 and just stop playing. But Wargaming are probably never going to make stats like that public, so I'll just have to sit here and wonder, I suppose. So hopefully you've enjoyed this pair of low-tier French machines, and if you have, you can hit the like button, you can leave any comments below, you can sub to my channel if you haven't already, and as always, stay tuned for more.